right, we are going to continue with chapter 32 today. But if you did not read yesterday's or listen to yesterday's chapters, make sure you go back and you are able to listen to the chapters we read together yesterday in the Seesaw assignment. So listen to that first if you weren't able to click on that yesterday. And so think about, who is this chapter about? That's the someone. What do they want? But what gets in the way of that? And so you will be doing that at the end of the reading today. In school the next day, Mrs. Douglas clapped her hands together and announced, "We're having a math challenge." "No, no, we're not ready," we insisted. But Mrs. Douglas wouldn't hear any of it. She split us into teams of four. We were to work together to solve one extra tough math question, and the first team with the right answer was the winner. Jason, thankfully, was not on my team, but Bethany, Joanne, and Paula were, and they were three of the most popular girls in our year. I braced for more jokes about my pants. To my surprise, when they heard I was on their team, they cheered. "Yes, we got the Chinese girl!" I took a seat next to my new teammates and smiled. I gazed up at the board, pencil ready, determined not to let my team down. I couldn't believe my eyes when Mrs. Douglas finished writing the problem on the board. It was a problem about a motel. The daily rate for a room at a motel is $30 a day. A customer at a motel wants to rent the room for just 2 hours. How much does the motel charge the customer? I glanced at Jason, who looked similarly stoked. I clutched my pencil together, tighter. No way was I letting him win this. $30, I said to my teammates immediately. Just because someone leaves early, you don't give them a discount. Bethany tossed her blonde hair over her shoulder and looked hesitantly at me. Are you sure?" she asked. "Shouldn't it be cheaper?" I shook my head. "Trust me," I wanted to say. "I've been doing this a long time," I thought. "It's $30, I repeated. "I'm positive." My group went with my answer, raising their hands to tell Mrs. Douglas, but as soon as we told Mrs. Douglas our answer, she shook her head and said, "Nope, that's wrong." "That is not the correct answer," she said. Angry eyes turned to me. "You said it was $30, my teammates yelled at me. I'm sorry, I muttered. "You're Chinese. You're supposed to be good at math." "She's not Chinese," Joanne said. Her eyes dropped to my pants. "She's ugly knees." The words sliced into me. By the time we went back and started calculating, 2 times 24 times, or 2 divided by 24 times 30, Jason's group had already blurted out the correct answer. $2.50. We had lost the math challenge. "Bravo," Mrs. Douglas said, handing Jason's team cherry lollipops as they clapped their hands together and asked us to return to our original seats. Jason sat next to me, sucking loudly on his lollipop, boasting his victory with every lick. "Guess it's official," he said. "I'm better than you at math." I wanted to remind him that I was there when his dad screamed at him for being terrible at math. Or had he already forgotten? But that would have been too Jason of me. As Jason sucked away on his lollipop, I looked around at all the other kids. Lupe and everyone else were chatting and laughing, even though they also lost, while Bethany, Joanne, and Paula continued glaring at me from across the room. I could feel their disappointment on my back, my shoulders, everywhere. I put my head down at my desk, wondering if I looked more like the other kids in my class. If I had blonde hair and blue eyes, then would it be okay if I sucked at math? Okay, that's the end of the chapter, so think about, what was the big idea there? Who was it about? What did they want? But what got in the way? We'll read one more chapter. Okay? You can choose either chapter to do your journal entry on. I pulled my hair back. I was standing in front of the mirror in my manager's quarters. The afternoon traffic, a dull rumbling in my ears. I glanced over at the kitchen. There was a banana on the table. I stared at it, at its bold yellow hue. I walked over and picked it up. My eyes searched the room. It was just me and the manager's. Quickly, I peeled the banana and walked over to the mirror again. I held the banana peel up higher and higher until it reached my head and then carefully draped the banana peel over my jet black hair. Hesitantly, I looked into the mirror. The blonde me smiled back. I stared and stared, so mesmerized by the reflection that I completely did not hear the back door opening and my mom coming in. My mom shrieked when she saw me. "What the heck are you doing?" she cried, pointing at the banana peel, hugging my head. the stem of my on the top of my head. I insistently wiped the smile off my face. I yanked the banana peel off my head and threw it into the trash. Why? My mother demanded. Why would you put a banana peel on your head? She fished the peel out of the trash and placed it on the kitchen table. There it lay, limp and mushy, proof of my embarrassing little experiment. Well, my mom asked, folding her arms. I was just trying something out, I said. What were you trying out? I said nothing. Did something happen at school today? She asked. I bit my lower lip. I could feel my chin quivering. My mother's face softened. It's okay, she said. You can tell me. The tears came gushing out before the words did. I ran into my mother's arms. I told her how I got the math question wrong, and the other kids mocked me, saying I should have gotten it right because I'm Chinese. When my mother heard that, she removed her arms. A new look took over her face, a look I did not like at all. They're right, she said. I took a step back, shaking my head. No, she's not really saying. No, she's not really saying that. She can't be siding with them. She can, and she was. How can you get a math problem wrong? What were you thinking? She said. My dad came in to see what all the commotion was about. What's going on? Your daughter just got a math question wrong at school. That's what's going on, she informed him. I was always your daughter when she wasn't happy with me, and my daughter when she was okay with me. I looked down on the floor. I heard my dad offer, It's okay. To which my mother snapped, No, it's not okay. She walked over, put her cold hands on my hot cheeks, and yelled, Math's all you got. That did it. I don't even like math, I screamed back at her. I like English. My mother's eyes widened. English? She exclaimed. I nodded. My heart thudded in my chest. 1 second passed, and then another, and then softly, my mother breathed out of a tornado. You know what you are in English? You're a bicycle, and the other kids are cars. Think about what mom means by that. She says, You're a bicycle, and the other kids are cars in English. What is mom trying to say to Mia right there? All right, so think about the someone wanted, but what happened? Okay, so who or what was that about? Get your journal entry in today, and make sure you do 30 minutes of read to self and do your journal entry below as well. All right, guys, have a great rest of your day, and don't forget to check out with me.